am the blade in the night. It's daytime. The protector of the innocent. More like murderer of innocent creatures. My parents were murdered outside of a movie theater. Okay, now that one is just a lie. I know your father. Ladies, gentlemen, and monsters of all ages, Title Update 3 is here, and things are absolutely wild in Monster Hunter Wilds. I had no idea what to expect from this update, but I guarantee you I was very surprised when I launched into Title Update 3 fully blind to any of the new stuff and instantly found out about a strange alien robot invasion. Along with this invasion, of course, comes a new set of equipment that you can craft from its little juicy robo bits, and while Josh has already made a video focusing on the new weapon itself because it's a great sword, I'll be talking here about the armor set, what the set bonus actually does from the armor set with numbers from actual in-game testing, and a basic concept of whether this set will be considered meta or viable in any way really as well. First and foremost, the thing that makes this armor set special for the most part comes from the set bonus. This does a decent job of explaining what the conditions are on the effect, but not the actual numbers or results from them, so that's a lot of what we'll be doing here today. The 2 set bonus, having recoverable damage, increases elemental attack, and some greatsword level 3 charge slashes are strengthened. The first part of that is totally separate, but it is pretty straightforward. It applies to all weapon types, which is, for all intents and purposes, elemental resentment. If you have red health in your bar, your element damage stat will go up. To be more specific, for the vast majority of weapon types, while this is active, you do 14% higher element damage, which you can see active on your stat page. The exceptions to this are greatsword, hammer, hunting horn, and both of the bowguns. Those weapons specifically instead get a 20% boost to their elemental damage while the 2 set bonus is active and you have red health, so it's much meatier for the slower weapons to compensate for the speed difference. This is a base weapon element attack increase, so it does not scale with other sources of element increase like the element up skill, but it is a very hefty chunk of element gain for sure either way. As for the other part of it, the greatsword strengthening part, despite some somewhat odd wording on this effect will happen regardless of if you have red health or not. It does not matter. The red health only applies to the element increase effect. What this effect does for greatswords then is any level 3 charged attack will fire out a purple energy wave in front of the blade. This purple energy wave counts as a separate attack to the actual sword hit itself. It gets its own separate damage number on screen so you can differentiate them, and it works in a relatively unique way. First, it is a forward firing projectile, so you can hit with the wave without hitting with the sword. It is simply longer range. Second, the actual damage of the wave is scaled off of your attack power stat, not the damage of the sword hit. So the wave projectile that comes off of a basic level 3 charge slash is the same damage as the wave projectile that comes off of a full true charge slash, which seems to be around 37% of your raw attack stat. On top of that, the wave respects monster hit zones, so you do need to be particular about where on the monster you hit with the effect, and it also works a little bit weirdly with skills. Specifically, the wave projectile cannot trigger on hit effects like the lagiacrus 2 set bonus or the white flame torrent weapon skill. Only actual sword hits can do that, but the wave projectile does count towards the hit counter for things like the burst skill, but importantly this also makes it easier for greatsword to get the full 5 hit bonus going from the burst skill 2, which is quite neat to be able to see. Moving on to the 4 set bonus, and this is where things get even funkier. When you have 4 pieces of the new armor set equipped, you unlock the Blackest Night. This is a new thing that pops up in your item pouch. You can equip it to your radial menu for easy use, and what it actually does is quite impressive. When activated, you sacrifice a chunk of your maximum health into becoming red health instead. This synergizes with the 2 set bonus of the armor set, but also it makes you enter a stance in which you will parry the next incoming attack that hits you. You can stay within this stance for up to 8 seconds after you've activated it, or you can choose to end it early by pressing an attack button. But if an enemy attack connects with you while this barrier effect is active, you will automatically parry the attack and deal back a pretty good chunk of damage, which scales with your attack power stat. The parry window starts from the moment you activate the item and lasts for around 8 seconds, which is a very generous timing window, and successfully parrying using this effect gives you a buff for 30 seconds that nearly doubles your defense stat, making you way tankier for the duration. The Blackest Night
darkside parry effect item itself also has a 75-second cooldown, but this means that purposeful active use of this would result in nearly 800 damage every 75 seconds, as well as a 30-second period of significant tankiness too. This doesn't seem to be able to trigger any guarding or damage taking related skills in terms of things like offensive guard won't trigger off of this even if timed correctly, so it doesn't technically count as guarding, nor will things like the counter-strike skill work with it either, as when you block with it, you don't technically count as being hit. However, the self-health loss that you do when you activate this does work for activating skills like latent power and resentment, which is important as those skills are a part of the armor set in itself. With that said, how is the armor set as a whole in comparison to things that players are actually using right now? Well, the main limiting factor of the armor itself is decoration slots. 5 latent power and 3 maximum might is a hell of a lot of affinity coverage in a very efficient way, especially if you have synergies for losing health to trigger the latent power anyways. But you can't fit too many extra skill ranks into this set with the sockets that it has. That said, resentment is a fine offensive skill as well if you have methods of triggering it, and the main ways of doing that right now would either be to use the 4-set bonus on this, but that can only be used once every 75 seconds, so that isn't very consistent, or you could pair it with the matching greatsword as well from Omega, which damages yourself every time you do a full level 3 charged attack, which will then activate the resentment very consistently, and that feels like by far the intended pairing for this. That said, you should take this with a bit of a grain of salt as it's very early and I haven't done like my proper mathing session quite yet, but the 2-set bonus on this is quite good for element builds if you have a way to reliably activate red health, 14% element for the fast weapons, 20% for the slower weapons. It is just a really large chunk of bonus element in general, and if your build focuses on element damage and wants to pump more element damage, then a big percent bonus like this is a pretty good call for how to do it. Outside of that, I would say that the 4-set is more viable in like a gimmick sense, like if you enjoy it and you want to use it then go for it, but it's not going to be meta as it currently stands. Then on the note of greatsword specifically, it is entirely possible that you would want to have the 2-set bonus as a baseline in your build no matter what moving forwards, especially if you're going to be using the matching greatsword anyways to trigger the extra effects, because that will automatically trigger the resentment on the armor too. Overall, I would say that this armor set is pretty alright. The 2-set bonus is pretty solid in specific situations, but this thing really shines in the hands of a greatsword user specifically, and I'll leave the sort of in-depth math on greatsword specific stuff for Josh to do for his inevitable greatsword build update in the near future. That just about does it for today then everyone, a roundup of the new Bale armor set, the unique set bonus that it has with a whole lot of bells and whistles, a lot going on underneath the hood with this one. And honestly, it's just a really cool armor set and set bonus and effect all around, and while it won't become a new like standout meta choice for everyone in the world, it will likely have at least somewhat of a niche for element builds and a potentially even stronger spot with greatsword in particular. I hope you've all enjoyed this, and let me know your thoughts on the new equipment in the comments down below. Like if you liked the video, subscribe to the notification bell for more, and most importantly, ladies and gentlemen, until next time, stay sweet.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.